Are you thinking about making New Zealand your home? Are you thinking about moving here to New Zealand like we did 2.5 years ago? If that's where you're at and you're thinking about immigrating and moving here, I can tell you it's one of the most challenging things we've done. So to try and help so people can learn from us and have a softer landing than what we did, I've created this video, which is going to be a basic full tutorial of how to start that journey from beginning to end. Starting at the very first beginning phase, which is just doing the research and trying to figure out if it's even for you and if this is even the right move, to getting into it in the actual middle where it's the planning and actually doing all the doing and actually getting here to New Zealand. And then in the last phase, it's, well, once you have here, how do you settle and start integrating so that you can actually make New Zealand your home? So that's what I'm going to cover in this tutorial today. If this is something that resonates with you and would help you, then please join me. Go grab a cup of coffee and let's get into it. Thanks for joining me. Hope you got your cup of coffee. I got mine. Before I kick off and actually get into it, so what I really want to explain is this is going to be a lot of information, and I'm going to be going through different slides, information, whatever else. That's going to be quite a lot, and it's going to take a fair amount of time. But I want to share as much as possible to make this as easy as possible for you. But what I'm suggesting is that you probably want to bookmark or save this video so that you can constantly refer back. And there might be pieces that you listen to and then you want to go back and listen to again. It also is quite long, so maybe potentially you won't want to get through the whole thing in one go. So by saving it, you can go back and when you've got time, work through each section. So just my suggestion, it might make it a little bit easier for you to just bookmark and save it. But let's get into it. So with our cup of coffee, let's go for it. So let's jump right in. You'll see that I'm showing the 3 basic steps that we're going to go through. We're going to start off with the discovery phase, and I'll go through all the different steps in the discovery phase. I'm then going to work through, once we've gone through those steps in the discovery phase, we'll move into the planning and the doing. So the planning and doing is more when you're actually committed, you're actually going to be moving, you're spending money on immigration agents, etc., and you're moving ahead. You've made that decision. So you're in the planning and the doing phase. And then the last phase is the arriving and settling. That is the phase where now you've arrived in country and what you need to do in those first 30 days and post the first 30 days to actually starting to make this home and actually be able to settle in New Zealand. So those are the 3 basic steps, very high level, that I'm going to work through, but I'm going to jump into each one and hone in a little bit and give you a little bit more detail on each one. So I'll give you a quick highlight of what we're going to go into before I start. If you had to have a look, you'll see that for the discovery phase, it's going to be a 5-step approach in the discovery phase. Moving from the discovery side, we'll get into a little bit of planning and doing. Then what we're going to move on to is the arriving and settling phase. So this is now when you actually have arrived in country. So that's everything I'm going to go through today. So I know it's quite a lot that we're going to go through, but I was just trying to give you an overview of what we're trying to go through. Hence, I was saying, save this link, okay? Bookmark it, because you may want to go back to it. So we're going to start off in the beginning, and we're going to start off in the discovery phase, and let's get into that why. So to help you get into that why and really getting that strong why, what I've done is I've created a document that you can use as a bit of a guide, breaking it down into different areas of your life with some probing questions just to really get you thinking. So I'm going to just take you through the document. I'll put the link and everything in my description in all my videos, so you can download all this content. It'll all be made available to you. Over and above bookmarking this and keeping it in place, I'll make sure that there's links so you can download all of this to try and help you. That's really the whole goal here, is to help you as much as possible with making the right decision here. So starting off with that why, the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're really going to want to take a little bit of time and start thinking about, what are your core values? What makes you happy as a person? Okay. And I know this is getting deep and it's maybe getting a little bit soft and fluffy for some people, I know. But trust me, it's important to give this stuff a little bit of thought before you just jump into immigrating and getting here. You'll hear shocking stories of so many people that go through what is one of the hardest things I've ever done to get into another country and immigrate here, just to not be able to make it work. And sometimes I genuinely believe it's because over and above the practical side of not doing enough research and really making sure you've done your investigations and collected enough information before you do this, sometimes you just weren't mentally prepared for it and you just didn't really think through that side enough. And that's really what I'm trying to get at here. So starting off with your values is really trying to understand what's important to you. So if I had to think back to me, I know that family is extremely important to me. Now, the hard decision was saying that if we're going to move to New Zealand, it meant I was going to be leaving family behind. It meant that I wasn't going to necessarily have although the goal is to I'd love to have my sister and my brother-in-law and all of them move here with us and have my kids' cousins and everything with us. I'd love that. I'd love nothing more. I'd love to have my mom and everybody else move here. But the reality at the moment is we're not. We're alone. We don't have that family. So know that when you're making these decisions, if a core value to you is your family, just really think about this. Now, I've just said that's my extended family that I'll be missing, but family is important to me. So my immediate family, my kids, extremely important to me. That's my whole reason for being and for being here. If you listen to any of my other podcasts, I talk about my purpose in life. And one of my biggest purposes is to provide for my family. And I'm sure that's for most parents out there or fathers out there, but I promise you that's a big deal for me. And over and above providing for them, I want to make sure I'm not a burden for them. I want to make sure I do best by them. And that's why one of the decisions for us was, no, we didn't believe we could give him the best back in South Africa. So that's one of the big reasons why we decided to move here. We genuinely believe, and I still believe I've made the right decision for my kids, is they got better opportunities here. So again, I'm just giving you an example with values. Family was a big one for us, and that was a big decision maker for us. So we really had to give that a lot of thought. We also had to think about career and financial considerations. So twofold, moving here financially, geez, that set us back, eh? It hasn't been easy for us. We were blessed in South Africa. We didn't have a bad life back in South Africa when I'm talking financially. We were in a good situation, so we were lucky. But it did mean starting all over again at the age of 40. So we've genuinely come to another country and started from the beginning again financially. It means we've cashed everything in, everything we owned, all our investments, all our insurances, everything. Our life policy, not life policies, what do you call them? Retirement policies, everything, just to get here. So we are starting from scratch again. So that's a big consideration to say, okay, well, in midlife, you got to catch up so that you can still retire by the age of 60, 65, and not be a burden on your children in another country. That's something to consider. It really is. But on the other hand, I also had to think about my career and say, okay, well, in South Africa, unfortunately, I was really worried that by the age of 45, I was going to struggle to retain my job and keep a job just because of the color of my skin, unfortunately. And as awful as that sounds, there still is something in South Africa called Black Economic Empowerment, BEE. And being a white male, you're at the bottom of the list. So that made me think, geez, with my career, it would be tough for me to be able to constantly be able to provide for my family. And just, it worried me. It made me very anxious. So for my career, I was leaning towards it really could help me rather moving to another country where my skills are sought after, they're needed. And if I work hard and show my value, I can grow and a company will keep me. It's based on what I can do and provide, not just the color of my skin and being a white male. So it wouldn't hold me back. So that was a big decision for me in trying to decide career-wise and financially to move across to New Zealand. The next thing you want to think about is your family and social connections. So I kind of alluded to that already. Started saying that my extended family, we still struggle with that. It is a hard one, especially over Christmases, birthdays, Easter, all the holidays we would usually get together. We loved going away in the middle of winter, going on our bush holidays together, going water skiing together. So I miss that. I really, really miss that. And that's a tough one because now it's just a family of 4, soon to be a family of 5 with my nephew joining us. But still, it's just our close, small unit. It's not extended family, which is how we grew up. And I miss that. So that's a hard one for a social side of things with family. So you really got to think about this. I know that my wife also struggles with her mom being back at home. Also, when your parents get older, you know,
the inevitable is going to happen where they are going to pass. And you're literally on the other side of the world. So there's these things you really got to consider when you're thinking about moving and trying to build up why you want to move and make sure that it outweighs and is really leaning towards a strong why of why you want to do this and commit to this. Lifestyle and environment, that's another big one that you really got to consider. I've told you financially, we've had to take a step back and you're having to start again in the middle of your life, literally, to catch up and build up your wealth again so that you can retire and not be a burden on your children. It also means back home, we had spent 20 years building up everything that we had so that we would have a place in the bush to go on holiday with family. We had a boat to be able to go water skiing and everything with the family. You come here, you're not going to have that. You've got to start again. I'm not saying you can never have it. I'm just saying you're going to have to work hard to get back there, to get that again. Or potentially you have to got to take a step back. Maybe you won't be able to get all of that straight away. And you've got to be okay with that. Or you've got to be okay with not having as big a house potentially. Or you've got to be okay with not necessarily driving all the branded German cars. I don't know. I sound so stuck up and snobbish here. I know. But the point I'm trying to make is there could be lifestyle changes that you've got to make. But there's positive lifestyle changes too. I can tell you the freedom that my family has here is awesome. Just the weight lifted off my shoulders, knowing that my wife can go out with the kids and go for a walk and go out into the community, and I don't have to worry that something will happen to them. I don't have to be with them 24/7, watching over them. Just being able to be free in the home even. I mean, we had such security. We were living in like cages at home where you have your electric fencing and your perimeter beams and all the rest. So your kids were even taught they're safe this side. They would even play in the back garden. They couldn't play in the front garden because you were too worried because we had, what do you call it? A fence that people could see through. And I was worried something could happen to the kids playing in the front yard. So that safety factor here, we don't even have fences. The kids are free. They can catch buses and get around, go to the parks. You got lilies. I've said it so often because it always blows my mind, that are walking themselves to school, riding bikes to school, going on their push bikes to school, crossing traffic lights, everything, and it's safe. So lifestyle and environmental changes, it's twofold. It's really, you got to really unpack this and see if this is for you, because it'll be on both sides that you got to look at that. So lifestyle changes. The other thing you want to look at is future vision and legacy. So you got to kind of ask the questions of where you're going to be in 5, 10, 20 years. And that was a big thing for us because we really thought about it with being back in South Africa. We said if we didn't immigrate by the age of 40, we're probably leaving it too late, not only because of the financial reasons of trying to catch up, but what we were also realizing is that our kids probably would study to a point of finishing their matric in South Africa, but then they would probably go get tertiary education in another country. And then they'd probably find jobs and they would probably end up living in that country. That's what we thought. And I know who can predict the future, but that's what we thought would probably happen, which meant my wife and I would be stuck back in South Africa with our kids in another country. We would be stuck with rands and a pension that is not strong enough for us to go and join our kids and our potential grandkids in the country they've moved to. So we decided that looking longer term, it was better for us to do it now before we're 40, get into a country where not only are we believe giving our kids a better opportunity in life, but it also meant that we could, as hard as it'll be to play catch up, will hopefully be in the country that they're in with our grandchildren. So we're thinking a little bit ahead. So that's the vision and the legacy we're looking to for the future. So that's something you would want to look at as well. Then lastly, a good exercise to really do is you want to do the rock solid test. And I love this one. It's imagine the worst case scenario. What is the absolute worst thing that could happen if you didn't do this or you did do this? So it's trying to think worst case. Are you able to handle that, accept that worst case scenario? So that's what you would want to look at there. Consider the alternatives. If you moved and it didn't work, or if you didn't even try, would you be able to live with yourself? Would you regret it? You're really just trying to pack it out all the different scenarios. And you've got to run this by friends and family as well. Don't do it in isolation. But you're really just trying to do this test to get a rock solid, strong why, okay, that will help you overcome any obstacles, because you're going to have obstacles when you move here. So this is really what I'm referring to, and I'm saying, please unpack your why. Okay. It's important to have a strong why that will really help you on those rough days. So that's really what I'm talking about when I say let's look at the why and unpack getting you there. So those are the steps. So with that, I'm going to now go to your next step. Okay, like I said, we're going to start with those pros and cons. So I know it sounds so basic, but I promise you, really what you want to do is you really want to write this stuff down and you want to work it through. So you're really going to go in and you're going to say, okay, work out what those pros are, work out what those cons are, and really start working through them. What you can do is probably use that document that I just went through to go through your why to start bringing it into different categories that you want to work through. So if you start at the top with the categories you want to go through, thinking about your core values and your personal fulfillment. So I was talking about what's important to you. So if I relate it back to myself now, and I think what's important to us, and I say family, you can do your pros and cons on both sides and say, okay, well, what are the pros with regards to family? So if I think about pros, it's going to be kids, freedom, and it'll be potential future opportunities. Okay, so you can start working that out. Cons, you can say missing grandparents, cousins. You can pretty much say, what else can we go through? We can go through looking at career and financial. So if we look at the pros, we can say here, better job stability or need. Now that's a tough one, saying what New Zealand's going through at the moment, but I still believe if you've got the right skill and you are needed here, you'll be able to find work here and you'll be able to stay employed. Even although many other challenges that I'm going through, I still think that I've got a better opportunity here versus back home. So I could say kind of pretty much the opposite. Past 45, struggle to get work. So you go through it, okay? And you can work through each different area, pros and cons. You can talk about family and social connections. You can talk about security. You can say freedom. They have freedom here. Here they have, the con is, can't go riding bikes, street alone, etc. So you get the idea. You really want to work it through and go through all the different areas and try to get your pros and cons. At the end of the day, the biggest thing that you really want is you want to know that over and above having your strong why, okay, you also want to know that it's heavily weighting towards the pros for you to move. Because a big thing that you want to be able to do is when you do make that decision and you're going to decide, okay, you're in this, you're going to move to New Zealand, you're going to have rough days. No doubt about it. There's going to be stuff that's going to be tough to be able to work through. And you're going to question why you've even done this. And you're going to need to remember your why more than anything else. Keep referring to that why to remind yourself. So my why I'm doing this is for my children, their future. So when I'm having those rough days and whatever else, reminding myself, Brett, go back to your why you're doing this. Go have a look at your daughter, look at how happy she is, look at her smiling, look at your son, look at how happy he is, how content he is, how he's not anxious like he used to be back in South Africa. And then you know, okay, tick. I remember why I'm doing this. Keep going, find that grit and push through whatever problems you're coming or having at the moment. Over and above that why, to help you make the decision, you really want the pros to outweigh the cons. I mean, if you've got more cons for moving here, why are you going to do this? Why are you going to upset your whole family and everything and go through all this if the cons are outweighing your pros? Then maybe immigration is not for you. You know, immigration is not for everyone. That's really why I'm trying to put this together. So starting right at the first phase with discovery is getting that very, very, very clear why. I want you to know your why, and I want it to weigh towards the pros of moving here, outweighing the cons here. So that's really what you want to work through. I know it sounds like, I'm giving you the basics, and I really don't mean to come across in that way. I'm not trying to undermine you or speak down to you. I promise you, I'm just trying to show you a basic way of working through this to be able to make the right decision and be able to make this journey work for you. So starting in that discovery phase, like I said, and I know I repeat myself, why, then the pros and cons. Okay, so the next step we're going to want to work on is we want to work on skills and jobs. So let me jump right into that one and show you how we start working out skills and jobs. Okay, so starting off with the skills and jobs now. So the first thing you want to do is when you're doing in the discovery phase is you want to find out if the skills that you've got have even got jobs available for you in New Zealand. So there's a couple of things you want to do. So my suggestion is if you look on the screen, I've opened up ChatGPT. Okay, so ChatGPT I think can be your best friend. You don't believe everything that ChatGPT says, just like you don't believe anything on the internet, but it's a good way to start your research, and then you double check stuff that it brings up. So starting with ChatGPT, what I did as an example, I took my Word format CV and I attached it into ChatGPT, and I asked the question, and I said, what companies are best in New Zealand for me to work at based on my CV attached? Gave it a little few minutes to start doing a bit of research, and you can see, okay, it came back and it started telling me a list of some of the potential companies I could work at based on my skills in my CV. It tells me Datacom, tells you a little bit about Datacom, tells you Spark, Vodafone, CCL, Deloitte, PwC. So it's starting to give me a couple of companies that I could potentially look at. And it's even telling you why and all the rest. Then it also tells you in the government sector that there could be potential companies there, again, with niche skill. So it starts talking about Cordia, for example, and it really starts giving you a good breakdown of companies that you could work at. So at least it's starting to show me there are obviously companies that my skill potentially could match and be sought after in those companies. It then also shows me on LinkedIn that I could start looking up those companies as well as their direct websites. And I could start going onto their job portal, seeing what jobs they got on offer. So I could go directly into those different companies. Or what I can also do is, and I'm going to show you now, you can also start going into Seek, and you can actually start updating a profile in Seek. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the planning and doing phase. But under Discovery for now, you're just trying to see, hey, have they even got jobs available for me with the skills that I've got currently? So this is how I suggest you start doing a little bit of that research, and ChatGPT is giving you a nice breakdown. What you can even do is you can expand it a little bit further. And I know ChatGPT starts telling you, okay, well, tailor your CV, how you do your networking, focusing on in-demand skills. So it's really even starting to give you tips of when you're starting to try find the job and job hunting. So it's really cool, some of the information that it really gives you in ChatGPT. I want one step further. Once I put in my CV and asked for the different companies that I could potentially work at in New Zealand, and I said to them, okay, what is the average salary range per annum in that job? So you can start looking and saying, okay, well, in that job, what potentially, it tells you company size, location, and then it starts breaking it down. It says, well, if you were a senior operations manager, you could potentially earn that. Head of project management, you could potentially earn that. ICT project managers, service delivery managers, just general IT managers, architects. So it starts breaking down the potential average salary that you could potentially get in those different areas. Again, I'm reiterating, you can't believe everything that ChatGPT says, and just because it says that doesn't mean you're going to earn that. Okay, but it's giving you a guide of what it could potentially be. So that's a good starting point. But it also then starts telling you a little bit about other things to take note of, which I'll talk to in this discovery phase when I get into the cost of living and can you afford to actually not just survive in New Zealand, but thrive in New Zealand. And I'll start talking to some of this information as well. But really, it started giving you a guide. So now I was like, okay, based on my CV, based on my skills, there is potential jobs that I could get in New Zealand. I can see which companies potentially would want to look at hiring me or might have jobs available to me. I'm I'm starting to get a bit of an idea of what the salaries could be per annum for that type of job that I could potentially look for. So then I'd want to jump on to Seek, and I say, okay, well, based on some of the information I've already found, let's go have a look on Seek and say, okay, if I were to apply for a project manager position, you can put in project manager. In what area? So I'd put in, when you go down here, just make sure you, for me specifically, it's information and communication technology. So I'll say search just those. Depending on your skills, you could break it down into the health and medical, hospitality. It all depends on what area and what your skills are. But Seek breaks it down, so you just refine your search a little bit. I refine my search to also say that I'm only looking in Auckland. Now, based on those salaries, I could also start saying, okay, well, I want to look at the salary brackets from the 120K per year to 350 plus per year. So you can start filtering, or leave that filter off if you want to see more options that are available. You do the search and then it can start bringing up the different jobs that are available. So now it starts telling you the actual companies, and you can actually start reading all of these and saying, okay, engineering manager, what do they mean by engineering manager? You could start going into this and reading a little bit more about the skills that they are expecting in New Zealand terms, because sometimes the words we use in the different countries are a little different for the same thing. But now you're starting to educate yourself and realize, okay, well, when they're talking about an engineering manager, that's what an engineering manager does. And those are all the different types of skills. What you can also then start doing is looking at all the different companies now that are advertising for what type of positions, what they're calling those positions, what are the skills that they need in those different types of positions. And so you can start going through it. You can also see on some of this, it will even tell you in these job ads, start giving you an idea of what the salary brackets are that they're offering. So then you can start seeing if it is actually in line with what you were doing research-wise and the amount of money you could potentially earn. So this is a good place to start looking for jobs and what are actually available. If you start seeing that on Seek, let's take a step back. If you start seeing from the search that you did on ChatGPT that your skills are potentially sought after in New Zealand, meaning that there are jobs available for you with the skills that you got. You can see the type of companies. You've gone on to Seek, you're seeing a lot of different positions being advertised. They are falling within a decent salary bracket, but we'll talk about budget now to see what that salary bracket should be, not just to survive or thrive. But you're starting to see, hey, this could actually work potentially. You can even go one step further then and say, okay, ChatGPT, now that I've looked at the skills and everything that I've got, we're jumping kind of a little ahead now in the discovery phase. We're not only going to look at the skills and jobs, but now we want to start seeing, well, is there a pathway for me to potentially actually become a citizen and get my residency, etc., in New Zealand? So again, go back to ChatGPT now. And what I did is I took my CV in Word format and I actually asked it, said, based on, I didn't even spell on right, my attached CV, can you check if I have a pathway to residency in New Zealand? Now, you are going to have to speak to an immigration agent, authorized immigration agent, to confirm all of this. As I told you, we are in the first phase, which is discovery. So we're just trying to, before we consult anyone, before we start spending any money or anything like that, we're just working through the steps to discover if this is even for us, if moving to New Zealand is even an option for us. So I told you, you start with your why, you start with your pros and cons. I've just talked you through how you can start doing a little bit of research around your skills and jobs and seeing what's available between ChatGPT and also using Seek and looking at what jobs are available and how much you could earn in those potential jobs. Now you're using ChatGPT and you're putting in your CV and you're saying, okay, well, tell me, is there a pathway to residency? And you can see it's now telling you from that, it's saying, well, based on your experience, potentially there's a pathway, or your skills qualifications, and it's giving you possible options of what could be a pathway to residency. It's telling you that based on the different offerings that they've got with New Zealand immigration, whether it's you're on the occupation list or you've got point system or job offers, different options. So it talks you through these. And then it'll tell you the next steps, which is exactly what I'm going to be going into in the next phase, which is phase 2, which is the planning and doing, which is when you now need to actually consult a registered immigration advisor. So you can go for advice from an immigration agent. You can go look yourself on the immigration.gov.nz site and start reading up yourself as well and double checking. I know ChatGPT is querying that site for a lot of this information as well, but it's really just trying to give you an idea and saying, okay, so not only have I got the skills and the jobs being advertised, tick, in New Zealand, and it looks like they're offering There's quite a few of them. They're offering in the different locations that I potentially want to move to in New Zealand. The amount of money is sounding like it should be okay for us to potentially make a living and look after our family there. And now you're starting to see, and then it's now potentially even a pathway for me to become a resident. And you'll see here, not only does it tell you the different options, it starts breaking it down and saying, okay, what are the titles on the potential green list or on the list of job-specific jobs or roles based on your CV. So it tells me ICT project manager or ICT managers in general, IT architects. So it's starting to tell me what are the even positions that they're looking for via immigration based on my CV and based on my certifications. So it's a good way to start doing those checks and balances to start seeing, okay, I've got the skill, my skill seems sought after, there are jobs available, these are the companies that are potentially hiring. I've gone onto their websites, I've gone onto their LinkedIn profiles, these are the jobs they're advertising directly on their different sites. These are what they're offering, salary-wise, bands-wise. I've gone onto ChatGPT and the immigration websites. There's even potentially a pathway based on my CV and the jobs and the skills and everything I have. So now we're really ticking it off. So then the last thing you would want to jump into after this is the last step in the discovery phase, which is cost of living. So we'll jump to that next. But just to wrap up, ChatGPT is your friend, Seek's your friend, and probably LinkedIn as well, and going and doing a bit of research on the different companies. So that's in the skills, jobs, and the pathway to residency or green list phase, or step in phase 1 of discovery. So with that, I'll bring up the next step, which is cost of living. Okay, so now we're still in the discovery phase, phase 1, but we're at the last step, step 5, which is going the cost of living. So we're clear on our why now. Our why is strong. We've gone through our pros and cons. The pros are definitely outweighing the cons to move to New Zealand. We've gone through our skills and jobs available based on our skills in New Zealand. We have now also established that there's a potential pathway to residency, be it the green list or not, but you can actually become a resident or a Kiwi. And the last thing you want to do is you want to say, based on all that information you found so far, you want to start understanding, okay, well, will it be enough money? Will they pay me enough money to be able to not just survive in New Zealand, but also thrive? So that's where I've brought up now my YouTube channel. So if you go to my YouTube channel, it's at Soft Landing NZ. First thing you want to do, please go and subscribe and follow me on my channel, so that if there's any new content or anything I put on there, you'll get notified and you can be kept up to date. So please do that. It also helps me grow the channel so I can try to reach as many immigrants as possible and help as many of us as possible make New Zealand home. So please do that for me. But going to the channel, what you'll want to do is, yes, I've got all my long form videos under videos. I've got all my shorts. So those are my short snippets that I share on day-to-day life and what's going on and what's happening and just whatever's on my mind that I want to share. My podcasts, so I try to get a podcast out at least once a week or at least every second week, where I share a little bit, or I interview people on my podcast and do my podcast over there. And then there's also playlists, which I'll talk through a little bit later. There's a whole lot of different playlists that I've got here. So if I do click on the playlist now, I'll show you. I've grouped my content into a whole lot of things that are around the why that can help you, your wellness and mindset tools, your how, podcasts, all the content, etc. So I've started putting all this together. But for this, what you want to do is you're going to want to go into videos and you're going to want to go down to a video I did. It's a tutorial over here called How Much Money Do You Need to Live in New Zealand? Okay, so this is what I recommend you do next, is go through this video to be able to get a good understanding if the salary that they are offering you, or you could potentially get for the skill that you've got, will it be enough to not just survive, but thrive in New Zealand? So if you go into that video, it'll bring up this video. You're going to want to go down into the description, expand the description, and I've got timestamps here. Where you want to probably jump ahead to is you'd probably want to go to the 11:28 mark over here. Before I get in, so I'll mute it so it's not me talking. You can actually hear me talking now, not just me talking on the video. I talk a little bit about the budget that I've put together here. This budget is based on a family of 4. It's a budget that I did this year in 2025. And it was based first on what I recommend you need to earn for a family of 4 to just survive in the first year. So this is talking to your first person that arrives with the income in the family and how much you would need. And even if you're not a family of 4, you can alter them slightly and figure up, inflate, or reduce whatever fortnightly or monthly or weekly amounts that I put in here. But this gives you a good starting point and a guide to start working out how much it actually costs and what your budget would need to be. You'll see in this video, I have said that I believe that just to survive for a family of 4, you're probably looking at about $124,000 plus minus a year as a bare minimum, just to be able to survive. So it goes through the video and it'll show you. So that is at the template structure mark. I've also then at the 14-minute mark, I talk to a tool called the PAYE tool, which is a really handy tool that you can go onto a website. You put in whatever the amount is that they're offering you or you could earn. And then it'll work out how much you'll actually take home, be it weekly or be it fortnightly, monthly, etc. It can also work out all your deductions for paying of tax, for your KiwiSaver, etc. So it's a really handy tool to go through as well. So jumping down to the 14-minute mark. And then at the 20-minute mark, I get into the real detail around the budget for just one person and I break it down. So it is really, it's an in-depth video with a lot of detail. So you can skip along if you really want to move it along. But if you've got the time, please listen to it. I do believe there's value in it. But go through it for one income. And then you'll want to probably jump across to say, well, if you eventually plan on the first 6 months to 12 months like we did of only living off the one income to settle the family, and then the second person in the family starts getting an income only post 6 or 12 months, then you can jump down to the monthly budget with 2 incomes. So this is now where I expand on and I say, okay, now based on you not only having just the one income of the 124,000, for example, now you've got the 124,000 plus the second person of 90,000 or 110,000 or whatever it may be. So then you can work out what do you want to add on to the budget once you've got 2 incomes so that you can start working towards thriving. This doesn't only give you a good understanding of how much to budget and breaking it down and what your expenses will be in New Zealand, but it's a good way to plan because now it can tell you if you've gone through those steps that I've spoken about in the discovery. Yes, there's the why, there's the pros and cons. Yes, but you've now also looked at the skills and if they're available, but you've also started getting an understanding of how much they more or less would offer you in that type of skill. And you could do the same for your partner, do the same sort of research and see what they could potentially earn, even if it's only 6 or 12 months later. But then you can get an idea of what you think you could earn as income as a household. And you can start working out based on what I've given in this video, whether you'd be able to actually start thriving here, playing catch up here. Like we said, we've come at the age of 40. So we now know we got to do a lot of catch up to be able to retire by 60, 65 and not be a burden on our children. But this is a good starting point to start putting all of that together to see if this is a good idea for you. So this is what I recommend if you're going to start thinking about coming to New Zealand is go to this video. The template is there as well. There's links in here where you can download the templates and everything. So over and above this video that I'm making, where I'll give all the different links, you can even go to my other content. There's a whole lot of other templates that I give you to download to start working off of. Okay, so with that, let me recap just with regards to phase 1, which is discovery. So let's go there now. So I hope you're sticking with me. I know this is a lot to take in, but I thought let's recap before we go get that next cup of coffee or your Red Bull or whatever you need to keep going. So recapping what we did, if you have a look here, we started with a 3-step approach. So there's 3 phases. Phase 1 is the discovery, which we've just gone through now. Then we're going to go through the next phase, which is the planning and doing phase. And then the last official phase, which is the arriving and settling. So looking at the discovery phase, we've gone through our why now. We got a very clear, strong why. We've gone through our pros and cons and made sure that it's leaning towards pros of why we want to come to New Zealand. We've gone and worked out how we can do job searches and research on jobs that are available here and how much you can earn, and which companies you can work for, and if it's potentially on the green list or has a pathway to residency. And then I've showed you how you can use this tutorial that I put together to really get a good understanding based on all this information that you've gathered now, whether you would actually be able to earn enough to be able to not just survive in New Zealand, but actually thrive. So this is my 5-step approach in the discovery phase, which I believe if you're ticking all of these off, and it is pretty much tick, I've got a strong why, got pros that are weighing towards moving, I can definitely get a job and earn enough and not just survive, thrive. This then makes me believe, if you've got this in order, move on to the next step, the next phase, which is planning and doing. And you should and potentially can consider moving to New Zealand. So with that, I'm going to jump into the next phase, which is going to be the planning and doing phase. So to kick off the planning and doing phase, the planning and doing phase is going to have 4 different steps to it. Okay, so you're going to have the immigration agent step, you're going to have the budget step, job search, and the checklist. So to get into those steps from step 1 to step 4 here in the second phase, the first thing you want to do is you want to meet with an immigration agent. And please, it's got to be a registered, authorized immigration agent. They're the ones that you're going to be able to meet with. They generally give you a free consultation so that they can give you, based on the questions they're going to ask, tell you, yes, there's a pathway, and confirm if there's a pathway for you to get your residency or become a citizen in New Zealand. So that is crucial that you meet with them. But like we did in the discovery phase, is we've at least gone and done the research where we believe it should be possible. So now you're confirming that in the next phase, which is planning and doing, starting off with meeting with that immigration agent. When you meet with that immigration agent, what they're going to do over and above giving you confirmation on your pathway to residency is if you then decide to pull the trigger and actually start working together with them, which I highly recommend that you use a immigration agent the way that we did it, but up to you whether you want to or not. Us, with such a big move, we definitely went with one. They then help you with putting out a proper project plan together for your actual move, not only on the side of everything you'll need to get your visas and everything in place for the pathway that you're going to be following, but then they also share a lot of other stuff that you need to get done and get ready by the time that you get your visa, get your flights, and actually get to come across to New Zealand. I am going to share more in this phase, the planning and doing phase, but the first step is immigration agent, get that cost from them, what it'll cost for their services, as well as the costs for your visas and all other hidden costs, i.e. you got to get a lot of documentation that can cost you money, getting your passports in place that can cost you money. So there are other costs that will be associated with this immigration process that you will get from your immigration agents. So that's why in this planning and doing, break it down into 4 different steps. Budgeting, there's 3 different types of budgets that I believe you need to put in place. There's what I call a normal budget, and I'll explain it shortly, an immigration budget, and a relocation budget. So it's these 3 budgets that I'm going to go through with you. Normal, immigration, and relocation. So there's those 3 budgets, which is step 1. Then step 2 is going to be working together with the immigration agents, and I'll talk through that shortly. Then step 3 is going to be all around your job search, because unfortunately, the onus is on you to actually get a job and get that job offer. Yep, we can help you with lots of tips, tricks, and I'll do that today, as well as even immigration agents help you with that. But at the end of the day, it is up to you to get that offer. And then besides the job search, it is then in this 4-step approach, I'm going to also talk you through a whole lot of checks that you have to do when you're still in country before you leave and get to New Zealand. So all the different things that you've got to work through. So that's what I'm going to work through in this planning and doing. So it starts with the budgeting, moves down to working with an immigration agent, working with them to get you what I call visa ready. Okay, because you need to be visa ready to then go and start doing job search and looking for jobs. And then once you find and get a job offer, you can go back to your immigration agent and they can help you get your visa. And then you can start working towards booking flights and everything else that I'm going to go through on the checklist. So that's kind of the timeline that you're going to be following, and that's going to tie in with your project plan that you're going to be putting together in this planning and doing phase. Okay. Starting off with the immigration agent, so you're going to book that meeting with them. And there's a couple of things that you want to go through with them. Now, I'm not going to go in depth with the immigration agent. As I said to you, I am not an immigration agent. I am not a licensed advisor. So I am not telling you your pathways. I'm not telling you what sort of visas you would qualify for. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm just telling you the process that you would follow. And this is my 3-phase approach to being able to immigrate to New Zealand. And part of that is you would engage an immigration agent in the second phase, which is planning and doing. When you do have that initial meeting with them, there's a couple of things you should kind of really think about. You really got to make sure that you've done your research, which you've done in the discovery phase, because you're going to share a lot of that information with them and your findings. So it'll be all around your occupation and your skills, etc. So you're going to talk through all of that with them. They're going to ask about it anyway, but now you would have done your homework. You're going to start asking them about your pathway. You know, what is your pathway? Have you got a pathway? You think you have. This is what you found out, but you need to confirm it with them and make sure it includes your family as well. Okay, so you're very clear on that. Once you're clear on those with them, then what you want to really get an understanding of what is their process. Okay, do they give you a written plan? It's important that you're working with somebody that's done this ample times. And hey, the immigration agents we've worked with, they help us with a detailed plan and step-by-step guide of everything that we need to go through. And they tie that in with the costs as well of what it's going to cost us, not just for their fees and not just for the visas, but a lot of other stuff that we have to get. Either they'll give us a guideline on that cost or tell us what we need to do so we can get the cost. Because like I said, you're going to treat this like a project. You're going to build out your project plan with your timelines and build in your budget for that. And I'll talk to budgets shortly. But this is what you're going to do in your first meeting with the immigration agent. And then so important, I can't say this enough, please, you have to make sure that the immigration agent that you deal with is a licensed immigration advisor. There are a lot of people out there on Facebook, on all these other social media platforms that they want to help you and they tell you that they're cheaper and whatever else. But then you ask the question if they're licensed advisors, they're not. And they tell you they'll partner with other advisors and whatever else. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. Please make sure you're dealing with a registered advisor. And then once you understand that from them, you know they're a licensed advisor, they're starting to guide you through this, you can make your decision to work with them or not and start working on next steps and start using the information they give you. Like the file I was trying to show you here is our file that we kept all our details in from our immigration agent, which was a detailed step-by-step guide of what we needed to do to work towards getting our residency and our visas in New Zealand. So that's the first step of the planning and doing phase, is finding yourself an immigration agent that you trust, that's registered, and you can start working with them. The next step we're going to want to work through is the budgeting steps. Okay, now if we start talking about budgets, so where I'm really honing in on now is talking about this portion here, the budgets. I said there's 3 different types of budgets you need to put together. The first one is what I call the normal budget, just for the sake of giving it a name, this is where you've got a current living expenses budget in the country that you live in. That's for all the type of things that you and your family are used to having. So it could be over and above, obviously, electricity and keeping the lights on literally and food and all the rest of it. There's other things that you pay for that your family's gotten used to. So it could be Netflix, it could be certain entertainment, clubs that you're part of, gym memberships, whatever. You're used to that. That's your normal life. That's your living expenses budget. What you need to do is that video that I was showing you on my YouTube channel, when you watch that and get an understanding of the cost of living in New Zealand, there's a template that you can also download that you can start using to build out your living expenses, day-to-day living expenses budget for New Zealand, based on what you and your family are used to. But also by watching that video, you'll get the costs and understanding how to populate and how much it'll actually cost you to have a like-for-like type of living experience in your current country versus New Zealand. And it also, in that video, I'll highlight, well, what might change and what might be a bit different based on what you're earning, based on what it costs, based on what's available, etc. So that's why I say that 2-hour tutorial that I did on the cost of living it really is helpful. If you watch that, it can really help you with a lot of this planning. But the idea is, getting back to this one, as one of the steps in the planning and doing is doing those budgets. And one of those 3 budgets is first your normal budget. You take your current living expenses and build out a new one for New Zealand. And in that tutorial, that video on my YouTube channel, I talk about building out a budget, living expense budget based on when you've just got one income. So it's when you just arrive and living off of one income. And then when you finally get 2 people working in the home, how you adjust that budget when you've got 2 incomes coming in. So what you add on and what are the additionals you can now start paying for and getting now that you've got a double income in the household. So really build out that first budget first, which is your normal budget. So that's the first one that you're really going to want to work on. Then the next budget that you're going to want to work on is your immigration budget. Okay. So your immigration budget, this one is the one that you're going to work on with your immigration agent. So this is going to be not only their costs for their services, but it'll also be for whatever visas you're going to be getting based on your pathway to residency and to citizenship. So it'll work that out for you. But then there's also other things that you may need to do as part of getting that visa. So there could be medicals you need to get done. So there's costs for those medicals. There could be other documentation you need to get done, like birth certificates, marriage certificates. And you might not have those, so you've got to get them. So that there could be costs to that. There's going to be obviously air tickets for you and your family getting across here. Getting your passports if you haven't got them. There's costs associated with that as well. A container if you're bringing stuff across. So there is a lot of cost that you will start putting into your immigration budget. Okay, so that's the second budget you're going to start working, which ties in with the project plan you're putting together. This budget, I believe you should be putting together with your immigration agent, because they will help you with that. I told you in the first step with your immigration agent, you ask them for their plan. They will tell you the plan. They do this over and over and again for people. They'll define that plan for you, everything they need to do so you can build out your project plan to get you here to New Zealand and tie it in with this immigration budget with all the different things that will be a cost to you that are specific to your journey or your pathway to residency here with your immigration agent. So that's the second budget that you'll be doing. The third budget that you'll be doing is a relocation budget. So this is the budget that I'm talking about once you've relocated, once you arrive here. Then you've got to have a budget for getting startup costs, getting you all set up once you're here. Yet you're going to get that salary here after you've stayed here for the first week or month or whatever until you get paid. So you've got to have a bit of money set aside to, one, see you through that first month or so of living expenses. So that's one thing you've got to have in this budget, the relocation budget. Second thing is you've got to buy a vehicle, a car to get around. So if you're not putting one on a hire purchase or you're financing one, you're going to need to have some cash available to buy a car. You're going to need to get a rental. And to get a rental, you need to put a deposit down. So you need to have money for a deposit. Yes, you may have gone for a container and they're going to bring a lot of stuff here, but the container doesn't arrive when you arrive. So there's a timing there. So when you move into this rental, you're going to need some of the basics. At least you're going to need beds. You're going to need some crockery and cutlery, pots, pans, basic cooking utensils. So you need some basic stuff until your container arrives. Or maybe you opted not to go for a container. You're going to need the budget to start kitting out the home and buying all those things that you need for the home. So that's going to be your relocation budget that you're going to be putting together. So in the planning and doing phase, there is first meeting with that immigration agent and finding and appointing an immigration agent that's going to work with you to get you your pathway to residency or to citizenship. Then you're going to build out these 3 budgets, and then you're going to move on to the third phase or third step in this phase of planning and doing, which is job search. Now, this one can be a bit tricky, and I think this is where a lot of people are struggling. But let's get into job search. And now we're going to talk about job search. So there's a lot of information I'm going to throw at you here. So like I've reminded you before, this is maybe where you would want to make sure you've bookmarked this video so you can go back to it. You may not be able to sit through the whole thing. I know we've going for almost an hour already. So yeah, let's get stuck into the job search part. Okay, so of the planning and doing phase, spoken about immigration, spoken about the budgets. Now it's the job search. Now this is the big thing where it's the onus on you. So the first thing I'm going to take you to is if you go back to my YouTube channel, you're going to want to look for a video under my videos section. And it is a interview that I did with the GM. Yeah, his name is Andre Cronier. Okay. It says how to ace a job interview here in New Zealand. Not only has he told us how to ace the interview, but he's given us a lot of tips and tricks on how to even get that initial interview, to how to just get a foot in the door to even be met. So I think there's a lot of handy information here. You'll see there's a lot of people that'll tell you to do your CV in a New Zealand format, to do your cover letter in a New Zealand format. And it's a big debate whether there's such a thing. I mean, you talk to Kiwis and they'll tell you, what do you mean New Zealand format? I think what's more important is, and what he talks through here in this video, is that you're making sure that your CV is in a format that it's professional, and it's just with what people are used to reading here when they're recruiting people. And also not only in the format, so making it brief and to the point, like he explains over here. When I say brief, don't do pages and pages in your CV, and you don't have to put your photo on there and a whole lot of other information. It's more really trying to make it relevant to the job that you're applying for, really trying to highlight, and I'll talk about skills stacking, highlighting the skills that you've actually got that are relevant to the job that you're applying and where you've got the experience in your CV. So it's really tailoring it in that sort of way. And I know some people call that Kiwified. Your cover letter, this is a time for you to be able to stand out amongst everyone else when they're reading that cover letter. So it's how do you, in that first paragraph, state it in such a way that I want to meet this person. Oh, I want to read more about him. I'd like to meet him. Okay, let me read his CV and let's carry on. So that is trying to talk a little bit personal, something that's about you, but that's not only about you, that ties into the actual job that you're applying for. So it's how you do your cover letters. And he speaks to this. I mean, I'll give you a quick example. I was applying for a position at Te Whatu Ora, which is the health ministry here. And one of the things I did in my past life when I was first out of school is I was a paramedic. And it's a passion of mine, is really serving and helping people. And had paramedics been able to make enough money back in South Africa, I probably would have carried on with that line of work, but I didn't. I moved into IT. But it's still something I'm so passionate about. So when there was a position in the IT department at Te Whatu Ora or the Ministry of Health here, I opened up with speaking to them about saying, just like they're about caring for Kiwis and our health as Te Whatu Ora, my passion when I was a paramedic is in line with this. And I would talk to it and explain how I would fit in with their culture and what they're doing and their mission, even although I'm in IT. So that's kind of how you got to relate it back. It's like, oh yeah, this is somebody that would fit in. So it's not just about your skills. It's about selling yourself and just being different, showing what's unique about you compared to every other cover letter and every other person that they're trying to read. So that's what's so important when you're doing this job search. So getting back to it, go to my YouTube channel, over and above subscribing, go down to this video over here, give it a watch. It's about an hour long. It's really worthwhile. In this video, you'll see, I've gone in the description as well, and I've told you, he talks a little bit to the culture and why it matters and why it's important to understand the nuances with the culture here. He also talks a little bit like I've just been speaking about now with the cover letters and the CVs. He's spoken about skill stacking, which I'll talk to shortly, and just how to communicate and how to handle yourself in the actual interview. So it really is worthwhile listening to and watching this video from Andre. What I've done is I've also done a blog. So if you go into my YouTube channel, over and above going down to the video, going to his video, you can go to more over here and you can go click on my blog. Okay. And if you open up my blog, you'll see there is a blog on, it's called How to Secure a Job Interview and Get Hired in New Zealand. It is based off the interview that I did with Andre. But what it really does is it just quickly breaks it down for you and says, okay, we've explained why it's a little bit hard and challenging to get a job at the moment in New Zealand. And there's other video content you can watch to get a better understanding of that. I'm not going to go into that now, but he talks to the power of a targeted CV. So what he's really meaning about a targeted CV is when you go into the job that's been advertised on Seek or LinkedIn or the employer's website or whatever else, you really want to hone in and see what are the skills that they're highlighting? What are the soft skills, technical skills? What are they actually looking for? And you want to make sure your CV is adapted in such a way that it aligns with what they are looking for. Okay, you don't want to just sound like every other person and every other CV. So you really got to target it. And he talks to this in the video and explains that a little bit more. What he also does, over and above targeting to the position that you're actually applying for, he talks about stacking your skills, which I thought was actually it's actually such a good point. Over the years of experience, you've got experience in a whole lot of different things, okay? And what you do is when you read that job ad, it might be asking for different types of skills, and you might not be the expert in all of those, but you do have a flavor of that skill. So it's a way to put your CV together to stack those skills in the order of priority that you read in that job spec. Say, oh, I've got those skills. So it's almost ticking it off. So they go, oh yeah, okay, he's got sales experience as well. He's got contract management skills as well. And he's got the technical bit and the leadership skill. And oh, he can present and everything as well. So you may not be an expert in all of those, but you're stacking your skills together to align with the position that they've got available. He also talks a little bit to how important it is to stand out in the interview and how to just connect emotionally with the people that you're meeting with. So I know it can be hard and you can be very nervous in an interview and everything like that, but I promise you, if they've read through your CV and your cover notes and they've chosen to meet with you, they've got a good understanding of your technical ability. And yeah, they'll probably do technical assessments and ask you technical questions and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things they're trying to see is, are you that culture fit? And that is huge here. Do we like you? Are you the right fit? Are you the right person for the team? Would you be able to complement the team and work together and be an easy person to work with? That's what they're trying to identify as well. So it's so important to stand out in that sort of way and know how to interview in that sort of way. Networking. Wow, it is so crucial here. Networking is huge in New Zealand. A lot of it is who you know. Sometimes, just by knowing the right people, the advert won't even go out. You can get employment that way. And it's hard when you don't have a network, but how to build it. And I'll talk through that shortly with how to start doing it with LinkedIn and everything like that. But it's important to start networking, getting out there and speak to people. And Andre talks to that a little bit in the video too. So it really is important. So I'm just sharing a little bit. There is the blog, which gives you a little bit of a breakdown, but again, it roots to the video. So I believe it will be very helpful watching that video. But getting back to a little bit of the practical advice when you're trying to search for a job. So if you're thinking about it, one of the things you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to your LinkedIn and you want to get your LinkedIn updated. You want your LinkedIn to match the skills that you've actually got on your CV, and it must be up to date and current along with all your work experience. I know this might all sound self-explanatory, but you're going to want all of that up to date. But if you look at your LinkedIn, one of the things you're going to want to do is you want your heading to, because you've got to remember what it also does with all these recruiters is there's AI, which is looking at keywords, it's looking the way things are written, it's trying to match things up. So even the selection process at the very beginning is with AI and recruiters and whatever else. So you've got to keep that in mind, let alone once you're actually in front of a manager, which I've just spoken to now, with standing out on your cover notes and standing out with your CVs, matching the actual job ads. So there's all these things you've got to think about. So when you're thinking about your LinkedIn profile, you've got to think about your about. You want to make sure that the headings are clear and it's in line with actual positions that you're looking for. You want to make sure that your about actually stands out. And your about section, it's natural and it's using, it flows naturally, but it's also using keywords that AI will be able to pick up on and look at your profile for. So you want that SEO to be higher. That's what's it called? Search engine optimization. You want that to be high. So you're going to want to plug in some of those keywords in the ads that you see everywhere, but in a natural way in your about. And making sure your heading is right as well, okay? You're going to want to make sure that the titles on all your different experience ties in with actual jobs that are available in New Zealand and in their sort of terms, and that you're also building out all your different skills under all the different jobs, because the SEO and the AI is looking at these different skills and actually trying to make sure that they match up. So make sure those skills are populated. And in the skills section, make sure you got all your skills listed, okay? So you can get up to 50 different skills that are listed. So make sure that you show all those skills. Okay, so it is more than 50 skills. I couldn't remember how many, but list all your skills and actually populate this. Get all your certifications and everything added as well. If you've got any other education and certifications, add in. So fully populate this as best you can. If you can get any other people to give you recommendations and write-ups that you've been working with, get them to write it up. It's good to get this as up-to-date as possible. So that's one way of starting, is with your LinkedIn profile. And obviously, hopefully this is a good enough picture, but making it look professional and just getting your LinkedIn profile up to speed. Over and above getting your LinkedIn profile up to speed, what you'll also want to do is go into Seek, and you'll want to get your Seek profile up to spec. Your Seek profile needs to match your LinkedIn profile, okay? So the timelines and the different things in your career, your certifications, your skills, all that kind of stuff needs to match LinkedIn. It doesn't make sense if you say one thing on LinkedIn but a different thing on your Seek profile. That's going to send off alarm bells. They must match, okay? And you can see even on Seek, when you're filling out all the information, it'll tell you whether you've got your profile up to a decent level where you've got everything filled out. So make sure you've got it to that level on the Seek site as well. I think one of the things you really want to do is, over and above getting your LinkedIn up to speed, getting your Seek up to spec, getting them matching and all the rest of it, getting all the keywords and stuff like that. I did speak about it a little bit earlier, where I said, and watch the video obviously from Andre, I spoke about it a bit earlier, use ChatGPT where you're doing your research. So if there's different jobs that you can see on Seek at different companies, go do your research on those companies. Use ChatGPT. Say, hey, I saw, and I'm just using an example, there was a advert for a position as an engineering manager or whatever at Datacom. Go do some research on Datacom and found out about them, and get ChatGPT to do a lot of that research for you. Just verify it and whatever else, but you can use it to do a lot of that for you, so that if you do go into the interviews, you're knowledgeable about the company that you're actually applying for positions for when you're in the interview. What it can also do is, you can do a bit of research and tying it in with LinkedIn to start seeing, well, who are the different people? Who's the hiring manager? What are their structures? And you could potentially, if you can, with LinkedIn, start making those connections. Maybe there's somebody you know that knows somebody else that's at that company, or you could just find the right person, reach out in a professional way. You could go to their websites, apply for the positions on their websites as well. So you really got to do a lot of homework in trying to find a job. I will warn you, this is tough, okay? This is probably the hardest part in the journey, is actually getting that job offer, okay? You can do the whole discovery and tick all those boxes, and you know, yes, I know I want to go and this is the right move for me. And you get into the planning phase, you've got an immigration agent, they're all positive, you paid them the money, they can help you with the visas. They'll get you to a point where you visa ready, okay? So you've got everything to now get a little piece of paper from them that writes up that you're visa ready. And you use that when you're applying for positions here at companies. You use that visa ready letter so that potential employers know that, yeah, you're an immigrant, but you're at the stage where all you need is that job offer, and you can move quickly to start with them. So within 2 months or so, you could actually get your visas and be in country and actually start working for them. So it's important to get to that point of being visa ready with them. But the onus is on you to find the job. And these are just some of the tips and tricks. You just got to be persistent. You just need that one offer. You just mustn't give up. And I know it's tough at the moment in New Zealand to get a job offer, but this is something that you're going to have to work through, keep working on. If you listen to that video from Andre, you update your LinkedIn profile, update your Seek profile, try get those keywords, do that stacking of your skills, and just keep going. Take note of how to interview and everything like that. This is definitely something that can help you in this stage, this step of planning and doing where you're trying to find a job offer. Because the actual point is, you need to get that job offer to then continue with the immigration agent to actually get a visa, to be able to get plane tickets, to actually get into the final phase, which is arriving and settling in New Zealand. So this is the toughest part that you got to do. What I am doing, and I'll talk about it a bit later in the arriving and settling portion, is I am working on getting a community built out, a community app, which is going to be the Inner Circle app, where if you want to be part of a team and a group that will support you end to end from the discovery phase all the way to settling and further along, just setting up towards buying a house, to retiring, getting your finances in order, helping you actually settle, build friends, finding friends and families in your area and in common. I am building out a support app, a community that you can join. So that, and I'll talk about it later, that's something you could join. But for now, and why I mentioned that, sorry, is We're going to also have it in that app where we can start teaching you how to interview. And we can do some mock interviews and everything like that. So we'll add extra for our community to try and help you and support you as well. So that's something I want to try and do. But for now, there is this. It is possible. You can do it yourself with all the content that I'm putting out there on YouTube, as well as watching Andre's advice and doing all of this. You can get a job. I did it. Many other people have done it. So it is possible. It's just not easy. You just don't give up. So that is in the planning and doing the job search step. So let me go to the final step, which is the fourth step in planning and doing. And let's get that up. Okay, so we're in the second phase, which is planning and doing. We've gone through the 3 different types of budgets, spoken about an immigration agent. I've spoken about all the jobs and skills. Now I'm going to talk you through the checklist that you're going to want to go through that is going to help you. And this is the checklist that you start in country, in parallel, when you're doing this budget, immigrate, meeting with the immigration agent, right from the beginning to end, doing the job search. This is the checklist you want to go through. It's very comprehensive and there's a lot of information to go through, but that's what I'm going to start showing you. So let's bring that one up. So looking over here, you'll see in this checklist, and it'll be available for download. The first thing you want to do is you want to plan and have a project plan and a timeline. So I already spoken about this several different times, but why I'm bringing this up on the checklist is there is a video on my YouTube channel as well. No, sorry, it's not a video. It's a podcast video. So it's only audio, but I speak through why you need a plan with immigrating. And I give a lot of tips in that video as well. And there's the link to the video. So over and above what I've spoken about in this video, planning and a timeline, extremely important. So that's one of the things you're going to be putting together is your project plan and timeline and all your costs and budgets and everything that go with it. Next thing that you're going to be starting to look at, and this will be with your immigration agent, so they should help you with this, but I'm just trying to share a little bit, is documentation and qualifications. So you're going to need to get all your different documentation together. You're going to need to get your unabridged marriage certificate and information. You're going to need to get your passports, driver's license, school reports, any other qualifications and reference letters, especially reference letters. What you're going to want is over and above for career. You also want reference letters for renting. So when you apply for rentals here, you'll see I've done another podcast, another video on how to secure a rental here in New Zealand. And one of the things over and above a rental CV is you will need reference letters as well to your character, etc. So you're going to want to get those up front. Anything that's not in English. So if you've got any documentation that needs to be translated into English, get them translated in English. Depending on how and what path you're following to get here to New Zealand, you may need to go get your qualifications assessed. But again, with your immigration agent, they'll walk you through this and tell you the process for that. So it might, if you're teachers or nurses or electricians or whatever, there's generally stuff that you need to get done in those sort of careers or lines of career. But immigration agent will help you with that. I mentioned this one, so I jumped a bit, but preparing your reference documentations for landlords and letters for your rentals. So that's what you'll need to do there. Housing and vehicles and assets. So you potentially, if you've got homes and everything else in South Africa, you need to work on selling your property, selling your vehicles, what goods what you're going to keep in your household and send on a container or not. We opted to only go for stuff that is of sentimental value or irreplaceable, like family heirlooms and stuff like that. We didn't bring everything across. We opted that all, furniture and big appliances and all the rest, we'd start again when we're here. So we sold everything that we had back in South Africa. You've got to think about your power of attorney. So think of somebody that's a trusted person, be it your parents, your sibling, or somebody that you trust back in your home country to be your power of attorney, because they might have to sign off on stuff when you've already moved across. In the financial side and legal matters, banking accounts. So you can already start setting up a banking account when you're in the country you're in. So I do speak through this as well on my podcast, but you can start off with setting up a BNZ bank account, for example, and you get it all set up when you're in your home country. And when you land here, you just go into the bank and verify that you are who you say you are with a whole lot of documentation. And then the account is already there. It's active. They just give you the card, open it up, and you can start drawing on your account straight away. So anyway, banking accounts and stuff you'll want to look at. Last will and testament is what you want to look at. You want to get one done in the country that you're from, but then you also want to get one done when you're here. I've spoken about the different budgets. So I spoke about the 3 different types of budgets that you want to work on. So there's your normal budget, there is your moving or immigration budget, and then there's your relocation budget. So those 3 that I spoke through a little bit earlier. Online banking and power of attorney. So I've spoken about power of attorney, but just think about your online banking and just make sure that your OTPs and all those kind of things are sent to an email address or a way that you can actually access it, because your number is going to change when you're here. So just make sure that works. I mean, that's a biggie. You want, unless you're closing down all your accounts in the country you're in, but if you're not, make sure you can still access them, and even the OTPs and whatever two-factor authentication and security and whatever, you can access it from another country, so you can still get into it. You want to look at all your different insurances. So as much as you had insurances in your home country, you got to look at insurances here. What you want to do is not only household or household contents insurance, unless you're lucky enough to be able to buy a home when you first get here, but otherwise you're renting, and it's your household contents you'll want insured. You'll want to insure the car that you're buying here. You want to potentially look at medical insurance. You want to look at life insurance, disability insurance. Some of this you may want to look at straight away, and some of it not. Again, in that full cost tutorial, I give a breakdown of the costs of all these different types of insurances. I've also got a podcast on the different types of insurances here that you can listen to. So there's a lot of information that you can listen to. I've actually listed the podcast here. So I said you can go to that how much money do you need to live in New Zealand video. So I refer to that one a lot. It's a 2-hour tutorial, so it's got a lot of information in it. But what I've also done is there's a podcast where I've said if you get sick or injured or made redundant, etc. here in New Zealand, I talk about all the different types of insurance policies that you can look at over here. I also talk a little bit to investing, so how you can invest for your retirement, or just invest some of your money. So there is a way that you can do that here yourself. So I talk to that a little bit. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you in my experience and what I've done. So I share some of that. I talk, you got to think about your foreign exchange, your tax in your current country. So there's all these financial things you need to think about. Now, I can tell you that we dealt with a lady by the name of Avandi. She was amazing with helping us with all our finances from the beginning to the end, and still working with her 2.5 years later. I want to zoom in on this just to show you a little bit of, she's got something called her 7 steps with regards to finances. So she starts when you're not even a resident yet, you've just got into country. And even she started with us when we were still in South Africa before we left. And just like I've spoken through cost of living and everything like that, she will even go with her customers and people that deal with her, and she'll work through your budget and your income and make sure there's nothing that you're missing over there. She will help you with all those different insurances, both short-term and long-term insurances that you need, and help you get those in place. So even if you want private medical insurance, or you need life insurance or anything like that, trauma cover, she can help you with all that type of insurances. She can also help you with your last will and testament that you want to get done on this side. She can help you with that. She can help you with your tax. She can help you with all your different investments that you want to do and put in place. And those investments can tie into your KiwiSaver. So there's something called the KiwiSaver here. I'm not going to get into all that detail in this video. I've got a different podcast on that as well. As you can reach out, and I can put you in touch with Avandi too, and she can help you, or any financial advisor. Just make sure they're accredited financial advisor, and they should be able to help you through all these different steps. So in the beginning, before you're a resident, she can help you with a lot on this side. But once you're a resident, she can help you with your KiwiSaver. She can help you with a goal of most of ours is to buy a home. She can help you with actually getting a mortgage and getting a bond, as we call it in South Africa, but it's a mortgage, so you can buy a house. And also just doing your planning to retirement. So she can do all of this with you as well. But the point I'm trying to make is these are things that you want to start working through. You've got to consider your finances, and you can start this when you're still in your home country and working through some of this stuff. Like I said, opening up bank accounts, getting your will in order, doing those budgets I spoke about, all your online banking and everything, make sure that's in order. Look at all your insurances, because there's even insurances in your current country you may not want to cancel yet until you are able to get new insurances and new cover here in New Zealand. So I'm talking about different life insurances, or I'm talking about different trauma, or what did they call it, dreaded disease in South Africa. All those kind of insurance, don't cancel what you've got until you know you can get new cover here. Yeah, so there's all of that. Obviously, moving your money across, she can help you with that too. She can help you with foreign exchange and getting your money across, so she can help you with a lot of that stuff. You want to look at your cancellations and your subscriptions. So you want to start getting a list of everything that you need to give notice on. So you could start at the top is you need to give notice to schools. So depending on the schools that your kids are in, some schools are private schools. You need to give them a terms notice for when you're about to take the kids out of school. And I'm not saying you couldn't take your kids out sooner, but they may charge you for the school fees for a private school, for example. So you want to give them enough notice so you're not burning money for something that you don't need. You want to look at any of your other subscriptions, like your internet connectivity, your ISPs, your ADSL, your fiber, your cell phone contracts, any satellite TV, like Netflix and all that kind of stuff. You want to look at those sort of subscriptions and give them notice. Maybe it's magazines or anything you've got, or subscriptions there that you've got in place. Gym memberships, club memberships, you want to give them notice. What else do you want to look at here? Your waste collection or anything that you need to give notice on. This is an important one as well. Just making sure your email address is used instead of your physical address. So start updating those for things that are not going to get cancelled. Make sure that that also gets put in place. So really go through all of these checks, almost like ticking it off one by one. So you're making sure you're getting it all done. Health and medical, I already touched on a little bit under the financial side, but again, you could reach out. Let me know if you want to get hold of Ivani, reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with her. Otherwise, it's just stuff you need to keep in mind, making sure that you think about these things. Before you leave, some of the stuff over and above getting the medical cover in place, you'll probably want to think about doctor's appointment, dentist appointment, optometrist, going to the optometrist, getting all of that done in country first. I can tell you dental is very expensive here as well. So if you can get as much done in your, well, depending on your home country, whether it's cheap or not, I don't know. But try get all those appointments and everything done first. Chronic medication, get those scripts from your doctors. What we did is we got 3 months worth of scripts for a whole lot of stuff for each person in the family. And we got all of that, those prescriptions put together and all the medication put together. And we brought that across in our luggage. So at least we had medications for the first few months, and it was medications we knew. Because that's also the other thing. When you arrive here, you're not familiar with the names of all the different medications. And I promise you, the first thing you genuinely end up getting is once you get off the plane, you get some sort of flu, God forbid it's COVID or whatever. But now you've got to deal with those symptoms. And now you've got to go to a pharmacy and you don't know your usual medications. It's just so frustrating. So if you have a whole lot of those medications with you, it really, really helps. Over and above, obviously, chronic medication, make sure you've got those scripts so you can give it to your doctors when you do register and everything on this side. Vaccination certificates for your kids, not only your kids, but also your pets. If you've got any that you're bringing across, so make sure you've got those as well. And then, like I spoke about, private health care and getting signed up, looking at that sort of cover. I'm not saying that the healthcare is not good here in New Zealand. It is. It's really, really good. I've done another video on my YouTube channel about our experience of dealing with the Children's Hospital here recently. And they were phenomenal. And that was a public hospital. So really, really good. But I can tell you there is cons and downsides to the public health system here as well. And that's where you can bridge that with private cover. So you can look into that as well. So there's my video on that. And there's obviously reach out if you want to get hold of Evandi as well from Migrant Financial Services. Pets, if you're looking at getting your pets across here as well, there's a big process to getting your kids, getting your pets across here. So, but there is companies that will deal with that as well. So you can reach out to them just like you do with an immigration agent. They'll talk you through the whole process, and there's a whole lot of stuff that you have to do pre getting them across here. And it has to be timed properly because it's got to be for certain vaccinations they need to get, and they have to have them in order and for so long before you can get the next one, before they can get the next one, before they can finally get into quarantine, before they can actually finally come across on the plane here. Then they're going to be in quarantine this side, whatever. There's a whole process with your pets. So just keep that in mind, and never mind the cost and everything that you'd have to build into your budget for that. So just look at that as well. And if pets are not coming with, then it's looking at, well, what do you do with the pets? Rehoming them, finding them a new place to stay in the country that you're leaving. Travel agreements. So yeah, this is just making sure with all your baggage, your air tickets, getting all of that in place. Yeah, I don't think there was, I'm just trying to remember what I've put on my list here. So yeah, there was all that you needed to get in place. There was scheduling your final beauty and health appointments, trying to get all of that summed up before you go. Travel insurance, this is a tough one. So you can definitely talk to Vandi about this as well, and she can help you with a particular travel insurance as well, I think. But I know that it was 2.5 years ago when we took out travel insurance, they told us it only covered us as long as we had a return. So we felt it was a waste of money and didn't even go for the travel insurance. So just check that one as well. Okay, job search and professional preparation. So I know I've just spoken through the job search. So obviously that's for the primary applicant. But what you'll want to do is take all of that information. Again, I'm just saying for the second applicant, I've also put it in here as part of your checklist. Watching this video as well is important that I spoke about. Optimizing your LinkedIn profile, like I spoke about Seek, updating that. So all of those points that I've spoken through are all in here as well. Education. So this is looking at the different schools. I did a YouTube podcast. So there's a podcast on this on my YouTube channel where you can listen to that, where I actually interviewed my wife because she helped with enrolling the kids. But I talk through how not only enrolling the kids and what's involved there, but we also talk about how when you're choosing your rental, you first go look at the schools in the area and everything as well, because you're zoned for those different types of schools as well. So this all ties in, and it's something that I feel is quite valuable to go listen to as well. It also talks to a whole lot of supporting documentation and everything that you'll need to get when you're enrolling your kids. So this one can really help you as well. And this is stuff that you can start listening to before you get here. You don't have to wait to get here. So that's why I've got this on the pre-checklist. So you can start going through this. It's your preparation for coming across to New Zealand. Then arriving in New Zealand, just a couple of things to look at. So you'll want to collect your vehicle and go to your accommodation. Again, listen to my podcasts and everything like that. You'll listen to our journey, lessons learned. I know we got our rental and everything sorted out before we got here. It was in the wrong area. We ended up breaking leases so that we could move out of that area. So really lesson learned is rather get into Airbnb or stay with friends or whatever else. First, come see the area for yourself. No matter how much people tell you about an area, you really got to get a feel for your community before you move. So yeah, don't learn from us. Make sure that you've got accommodation, but hopefully not your permanent rental. Get something that's short term. Get your car, get your driver's license converted. You've got time on this one, but this is stuff you just got to think about. You got to get your IRD in place. You got to get your banking sorted out. So it's just a couple of things that you want to get done. Register with your doctors in the area, visit the different schools. So it's just a couple of things that I started putting on here as you arrive in New Zealand. But when I start moving into the next phase, which is arrive and settle, I'll show you I've created a totally different checklist, which elaborates on arrival. So your first 30 days. So it touches on all these points that we've spoken about and more that they'll go through. But just in this checklist for pre, I've spoken through all those stuffs you want to do. Additional tips that I've also spoken to, it's just making sure you got digital copies of everything. My wife made files for us that are unbelievable. So she's so damn organized. So you can have a whole lot of that. She created a Google Drive for us. We've uploaded all our stuff onto the Google Drive from what we want, the immigration agents wanted to contract. All our documentation has been scanned in and it's all available there. So she was amazing with all of that. She took files and put together of all your essential contacts, lawyers, medicals, everything. So she was amazing with all of that. So it's really, really worthwhile doing all of this. This was just a point of keeping confirmation of any cancellations or any changes that you've made, reference lesson proof, or anything that you need that is important to keep documentation on. Just digitize it, upload it to their Google Drive. And then I think maybe what I wanted to talk to a little bit was on my YouTube channel, what I've also done over and above all the videos and content that I was showing you is I've created playlists. And in those playlists, I grouped together a lot of my content that'll help you. So if you're going through this checklist, you can also go through to the YouTube channel and you can go to the playlist and you can go through the different playlists. The first playlist was the how-to guides. This is your how-to and survival guide. So all the podcasts and videos that I've done that are all around how to do something or how to survive something, I've clumped those all together. So there's the link to go to that playlist and it'll bring up those 14 videos that you can go through. Then I've clumped together anything that answers your why questions, okay? So why is the country like this? Why do I have to do that, or whatever else? Those 13 videos, I've clumped those together for you, so it makes it easier. So you can go through those videos in that playlist. Then I've also created one on wellness and mindset tools. So I know it's really difficult, and getting to the right frame of mind and just being able to cope is sometimes challenging and tough here, especially in that first year. So I've started, I don't have a hell of a lot of videos there, but I've got 4 videos on helping you find your purpose and your mission and setting your goals and just getting into the right mindset in a step-by-step approach. I know I'm so practical and so anal sometimes, I know, listening to myself talk, but just trying to put that in place to try help you with getting into the right mindset so that you've got a practical way to do that. And then I've obviously just got all my content that you can get into on a playlist. But over and above that, I've also got a link here where if you want to go to all my content, it gives you quick access to my YouTube channel. You can go into my podcast. You can go into my Facebook, my blog, TikTok, Instagram, and I'm going to even add in a link here once I'm done with this video that'll talk to our inner circle community. So there is going to be an app that we're launching, and if you want to be part of that community and want to be the first people or immigrants to join that community, then please click on that link and give us your details so we can be in contact and let you know when it's available. But the idea is we're going to have a community that we will look after that community and support you end to end throughout this journey. We will have specialists in that community, so financial advisors, immigration agents, lawyers that can answer any of your questions and help you throughout the whole process. I'll be on that group trying to help out as much as possible. I'll have other people that have been here for years that will be part of that community that can try and help you and share their stories. We're planning on even trying to have where you can enter your details, your family details, and opt in if you want, and we'll match you up with other families in the area so you can try and get in contact with each other and build relationships and friendships. And it'll just be a place where we'll do monthly webinars, quarterly webinars, giving talks, Q&As, and just trying to really help you guys. And it'll be a place where it's trusted and safe for you to ask the questions, and you know the people on there, hand on heart, of people that I've used, that I trust, and I'm going to mess you around and just take your money type thing. So it's a community where we'll really look after you and help you throughout your whole journey end to end. Okay, so let's just recap and just show you before we go into the last phase, which is the arriving and settling. So if we recap in the second phase that we're going through, planning and doing, I spoke about the 3 different types of budgets. I've spoken about the immigration agent and what you want to do with them. I've spoken about the crucial part of you job hunting and what you need to do to try and get that job offer so that you can actually continue getting your visa and you're actually getting here to New Zealand. And then the last step was all around the checklist that I just talked you through. So that's all in the planning and doing phase. So with that, we've gone through the 3 steps. We've started with the discovery phase, and I spoke through all the different steps in the discovery phase. We've gone through the planning and doing. I've spoken through those steps, and we're going to now move on to the last phase, which is the arriving and settling. So before I jump into that, I'm sure you're going to need another cup of coffee or even more caffeine somehow from your Red Bulls or whatever else. And then we'll get stuck in. Okay, we're at the last phase. You've stuck it out. You're with me. Let's get through that last phase, which is the arriving and settling. So when we're going to go through this phase, what I'm going to talk through is I'm just going to talk a little bit about my podcast, my YouTube channel, a lot of the content that you can use there. Then I'm going to go through the checklist and just share the Inner Circle app that we're going to do as a community to try and help you not only from the beginning stages, but throughout your whole journey and actually settling and making New Zealand home. So we'll jump right into these 3 steps of this phase, arriving and settling. Okay, so the first step is you're going to go to, be it my YouTube channel, or you go down into the description of this video and you'll see there's going to be a link to a link tree, which is all my content, all my soft landing content. And it'll bring up a page like this, whether you're sharing, this is what it looks like on a PC, but it'll look very similar on your phone. You can then from here get to my YouTube channel, which you would hopefully be on already because you're watching this video, but please subscribe so that you can keep up to date with any content that I put out there. So that's my YouTube channel. You can also go here and you can get onto my podcast. So if you had to click on here, it'll show you my podcast, which is available on Spotify, Apple iTunes, and many, many other platforms. I mean, you can look here, all these different platforms that it's available on. So you can go listen to my podcast there, or you can go onto my YouTube channel and actually listen and watch my podcast there. So that's fine as well. There's links to my Facebook, my blogs. So if you go to my blog page, you'll be able to see not only why I've done this, but you could follow along on all the different information that I share from our journey, why I'm creating the podcast, all the way through to all the different how-tos and guides and everything that I've been starting to go through. So you can go through my why we need a plan, why it's important, then gives you the links to the podcast that I did around putting a plan together. So there's my blog that you can follow. I also share quite a bit on TikTok and Instagram, so you can reach out there. You can also go to my ask and reach out. So if you click on here and you can go and put in your details and whatever your message is, this will send me an email and I'll come back to you on any queries that you have. So you can go there. Why am I sharing this? Because in this phase, it's arriving and settling. And the biggest thing about when you first arrive is you have a lot of questions. You're in survival mode. As much as you're prepared, there's a lot of stuff you're trying to figure out. So I'm trying to show you, if you follow my YouTube content, that should help you with a lot of how-to guides. It should help you with a lot of answering a lot of the questions you may have. It could help you with a lot of your just getting into the right mental mindset. So there's a lot that I'm trying to share on that channel over and above my channel. There's the podcast where I share a lot of stuff, but there's also a Facebook community where we chat with one another, and there's information on the Facebook channel community. There's my blog that I send out every single week. So I post information on that blog, as well as just TikTok. So you can see me show you my experience of walking around and different experiences that I'm having in New Zealand. And that's also on TikTok and Instagram. But then there's also my ask, so that if you need to reach out and there are questions and there's information you need, click on here. Give me, just shout out, just reach out and let me know what you're struggling with or what you would need some help with. And if I can guide you or point you to the right people or right person, or I can share or write content, I'll help wherever I can. So this is really a starting point just to try to help you when you arrive and to help you with when you're trying to settle. So this is a starting point over here. Over and above that, I just want to show you also on my site. So this is prep work that you'd be doing right from when you're in country throughout this whole journey. If you start listening to this podcast, I talk through my journey and I talk through our experiences. I talk through what worked, what didn't. So learn from us. That's the whole purpose of this. But over and above that, I've tried to create this content so that you've got a trusted place to go to get advice, get direction on topics, on how-tos and everything like that, just to try and help you settle faster than what we did, to learn from us. So that's what this is all about. And I'm trying to put it all in one place. And I know I'm constantly going over my sites and what it is, but this is where I'm trying to channel everything and put everything in one place. So there's all the different videos, all the different shorts and everything. But like I said, you could also go listen to my podcast here. So all my podcasts are on this channel as well. But this playlists, this is what can help you as well. I've tried to group these playlists together. So if you've got a whole lot of things that you guides that you need and how-tos that you need, you can go to this playlist. So if I click on it, it'll show you here. I just want to pause it so that we don't get too much noise. I've got it muted, which is fine. So you'll see it'll bring up a playlist. And these are all the different how-to guides that I've created. So the one that it's busy showing now is how to fuel your car, how to put petrol in your car, and how to pump your tires. I know it's quite weird, but for us South Africans, it's a new thing for us. So I did a video on it and I showed you how to. I know that my first experience of, never mind putting in the petrol, that was one thing, and how to use the apps and everything like that, because it's also self-service, or you could go in and get the cashier to actually, well, you can pay at the cashier, but you do everything self-service. So I talk you through that in this video. But my first experience of trying to pump my tires at a garage was a nightmare, man. I felt like such an idiot. I couldn't find the actual pump to pump your tires. Back in South Africa, it was next to the petrol pump, and I couldn't find it. So I talk through how it's actually on the side where you can actually go and get your tires pumped. Anyway, that's what this video is about, for example. I'm not trying to sell you how to, but I'm just trying to give you an idea of how-tos. I do how to secure a rental, how to find that first job, the full tutorial that I keep referring to with the costs. That's an important one. This interview with Andre gives you so much key advice over here. Shopping. Oh, this one was an interesting one as well, where I did, when you land in country, you don't know a whole lot of brands and you don't know what shops to go to for what. You've grown up in your country that you come from, and you know the colors and the brands and everything like that. So if you go to this one, for example, I start talking through all the different shops and sharing the different logos. So you can see, Pack and Save, they're the yellow logo. They're the ones that are a bit cheaper with all your different groceries and everything that you can go to. And if you go further on, I start talking through Noel Leeming, for example, where you can go to, which is telling you where you can buy all electronic equipment and stuff. So I've got this. I've even got a link in here to an Excel spreadsheet with a link to all these different stores as well to try and help you, because you can, over and above getting to know these stores, for example, and how-tos, it also helps you when you're doing that budget and that prep. You could go into these different links for these different types of stores, and you can start getting an idea of price and how much different things cost. So when you're setting those budgets for buying furniture, for buying clothing, for buying beds, for buying anything, I've given you all of this information so you know exactly where to go to. So that's the how-to guides that I'm talking about over here on my YouTube channel. So go through those. Those how-to guides can definitely help you as your first playlist. If I go back and I show you the different playlists, so just go right back to the beginning, go to the playlists. That's talking about the how-to guides. So those were the one with the how-to guides. Then I've done one on whys. So this is one that is talking to all the different questions you might be asking why to. Like, why is it so difficult to start over in New Zealand? Why is it so difficult to get a job in New Zealand? Or I talked to so many different things that I can't think of off the top of my head. Why it's difficult to immigrate, why you need a plan. So there's a lot of why videos over here that answers things. I've even done ones where I interview other people and experiences to try and not only just to try and motivate you a little bit as well. So just to help you as much as possible. So these are all the different why videos on this playlist that you can go through. Okay. And then the last one that I've put together on a playlist is, let's go back to the playlist, one too far back. Go to the playlist is the wellness and mindset tools. So if you go into these ones, this one's starting to help you a little bit around, I spoke to, yes, why do you need a plan? Because that one I believe is helping you with your mindset and everything like that. But also, why am I here? So this one I've really spoken to, and I've started talking to putting goals in place and setting your purpose and setting your mission. And I know this one's just an audio one because it was just my podcast. I only recently started doing video on this one, but it's really worthwhile listening. And I've given you links to download the Wheel of Life, a workbook, and everything to start trying to set those goals. I talked to immigration grief that is so real. So many people they go through it alone and they don't realize that it's normal. And there's a lot of other people going through something that's genuinely is a real thing, immigration grief. I talked to it and what it's all about and give you some ideas of how and practical ways to try deal with immigration grief. So that's what this one is all about. And then over here, I've done a recent one, which has just gone out this past week, is moving to New Zealand and giving you 5 steps that helped me on this journey. So, and it's really inspired by a book that I read, which is the monk who sold his Ferrari, as well as Simon Sinek's book around why. And I've really used that information to try and build out a practical way to just kind of follow these steps to get in the right sort of mindset, to get yourself into a positive thinking so that you can actually make this work. So this is what this playlist is all about. It's really all about mindset and all about motivation and just trying to give you practical ways to get yourself in the right mindset and the right headspace. So that's those 3 playlists that I think can really help you a lot. I have got a playlist which is all my content, so it just sums up all the content, so you could go through that if you wanted. And then there's a playlist just for all my podcasts. So I think really as a starting point for arriving and settling, I'm trying to use this platform to put a whole lot of content together that'll help you. Over and above my content, the other thing that I've also put together that can really help is a checklist. So let's get into the checklist and make sure it's a checklist for the first 30 days, but let's get into that. Okay, so what I will do is I will make sure there's a link for this checklist so you can download it. But this is when you arrive in country now and your first 30 days of arriving. And it's almost like just working through it and ticking off everything that you've done. So the pre-planning is just making sure that your CV and everything is updated. It ties in with that other checklist that we were going through when we were in the planning and doing phase. But I just thought let's reiterate some of those. Registering on Seek and Trade Me and everything, which you already would have done in country, the country before you left. Updating your CV, pet CVs. I've got podcasts on rental CVs. So I've got all of that you'll want to look at, but you just want to make sure those are in place. Registering on real estate, Trade Me. If you watch that full tutorial on the budget, I talk about real estate. I talk about finding rentals. I've also got a podcast on how to secure a rental, so you can go through all of that. Opening up your new bank account. All of that content is on my page, so you can go through all of this pre. But in your first week, when you arrive, first thing you want to do is you want to start looking at getting your RD number sorted out. So you need that for work and for tax. You want to finalize and activate your New Zealand bank account. So I was explaining to you how you can already start with your bank account when you're in your old country and you just come with the last little bit of information to activate it once you're here. Getting a SIM card of when you arrive so that you can get online. This one is so crucial. I talk about it in the tutorial, but the full budget tutorial, but I'll talk about it again, is we made the mistake when we first arrived here trying to do pay as you go, which cost us a fortune. We were burning money every single day just trying to use data, because when you're here for the first time, you're on your phone using GPS, doing research all the time, trying to figure out how everything works. And that just, it chows data. So you really, first thing you want to do is get a SIM card, get a contract with, be it Spark, 2 Degrees or One New Zealand, but sign up and get that straight away in your first week. Start searching short-term accommodation. So hopefully you would have arranged this before you arrived, but you do need to make sure you've got accommodation unless you were in a hotel or whatever. But Airbnbs are definitely worthwhile looking at, or if you've got friends that you can stay with, but you need to get that sorted out in your first week. This is all around accommodation, everything that you want to get done. We're visiting your local supermarket. So if you watch that video that I sent you first on the different stores and everything like that, you'll at least know which stores to go to for what. So now you'll need to visit them and actually start buying some of your stuff. So you'll be driving around to start getting that. So your basics, so you'll start getting that all sorted out. Second week, you're going to start looking towards you're getting registered with your doctors and your GP, registering with your kids in school. Although I say do this in your second week, I can tell you we waited a little while and got the kids settled first, but it depends what works for you. You know, maybe you're both working parents straight away and you need to get them into school straight away. I don't know, but it is something, at least start doing the research, looking at the schools in your area that you potentially want to live in so that you can choose the right schools. Starting to sort out your driver's license. So you'll want to go and convert your driver's license. It's not too difficult. Just go to one of the AA outlets and you can get that done pretty quickly. You want to buy a car so that you can actually get around. We bought our car while we were still in country. So when we arrived, it was here. So you can do that, but most people only buy the car when you get here. I can tell you, if you're looking to finance a car, I've got people that have helped us with finance. They are phenomenal. They can even help you while you're still in country before you've left to arrange the finance. So it's all ready when you get here. So you can start buying a car and getting that all ready before you leave. So I've got contacts for that too. He was really phenomenal. Jacques was great with helping with it, with that from Vehicle Asset Finance. He can help. You might want to not buy a car and use the public transport that actually works, although the Kiwis complain about it all the time here. You can get a hop card. I think they've even upgraded it now where you don't need to use a hop card where you load money for traveling around on the buses and trains and stuff like that. You can actually use your debit card now or your normal bank card. So you can just tap and go when you're tapping on and off the bus. So you can do that. And there's the app and everything. But I've got that on my podcast. I talk to all of that as well. But you would want to get that in place. Make sure that you know where your nearest hospital and emergency is. You never know, especially if you've got kids, you're going to need to know where to go. Not all places are 24 hours. Some of them are only emergency for certain periods of time. So, need to know where to go. Like I did a podcast on where we had to get take my daughter to the emergency in CBD. which is called Starship, which is a big children's hospital. So yeah, just make sure you start thinking about those sort of things in the beginning. Don't leave it until when something actually does happen. Week 3, joining your local Facebook and WhatsApp groups. So that's why I'm trying to give you this information so that you're getting onto different Facebook groups so we can start helping you. Over and above that, I've already mentioned, I'll talk about it a little bit more, is the inner circle community that we're going to be building out. It's an app that we're going to get people to become members of. But the idea is that you'll have support in your pocket. So you'll be able to go into that app wherever you are when you get here, but you know it's going to be trusted advisors, people that will have your best interests at heart, that will really look after you and help you. Not to mention there'll be a whole lot of other content that you can access, and also monthly and quarterly webinars so we can share information, financial information, immigration advice, with all the different agents that we bring into the community to talk on those webinars. But we'll also, like I said, get that app together where we can try and get people to connect. And it's just a place for people to be able to get to know each other. So that's really what I'm trying to do with that community. So that's something that we're going to be launching in the new fiscal year. But for now, just register on Facebook groups. Try to get to know, I don't know, other people in your community. So start getting out there, going for walks, going to the parks. Yeah, that's what you'll probably want to start doing around your lifestyle. Week 4, this is where you want to integrate in job search. This is more relevant to the second person. I guess if that was your plan, that they were going to start searching for a job straight away. Otherwise, you should have already got your job and everything like that. So this is not something you'd have to do straight away, but your partner would have to start looking at. Attend local network events. You do need to start networking. Even if you have started a job straight away, I promise you networking is key in this country and building those relationships. So start not only on LinkedIn and different groups there that are in line with your work, but also start seeing if there's any conferences or anything else you can start getting involved in to start making those business relationships that you need to build on when you get here. What else that I think is important? Yeah, trying to get out there, especially your partner, if they're not working, maybe they can do some sort of volunteering, getting involved in the kids' schools, sports or anything like that, so they can start meeting other parents, other moms, dads, whatever, so that you can start building those relationships. I know a big thing for me was joining the gym in the first 4 weeks. Gym is my way of not only de-stressing, but it's a good way for me to meet people. So gym was a big thing. And I've just given some bonus tips. So don't delay with the paperwork on your RD and school enrollment if you need to get that in play. Make sure that you got your budgets right, especially for your rental. You've got to pay that 4 week upfront for the deposit, as well as potential 2 weeks over and above that upfront. So that's a lot of money to outlay in your rental. Make sure you've budgeted for that. When I talk through it in the budget tutorial that I gave, but there's the payment cycles can be different here, where you're getting paid in the middle of the month, or you're getting paid fortnightly or whatever. But what also happens is, if you're getting paid in the middle of the month, certain months are 5 weeks long versus 4 weeks long, and that can throw out your budgeting and everything like that. So just watch for those 5 week months. I think there's 4 or 5 of them in a year, which can really throw out your budgeting. So just watch that. I've spoken through tailoring your CV and your cover letters in detail. So I've spoken about that. And then just make sure that overpacking or packing stuff that you really don't need. I really believe it's just try to bring those things that make it feel like home, that can make the kids comfortable, make it feel not foreign. So those are the kind of things that you'll want to look at. So yeah, this is the checklist in the first 30 days or when you just arrive. So I'll share this with you. And then the last thing is really just trying to join the community. So that's where I've spoken about it several times, and I know I'm just really excited about it because this is something that I think is going to add so much value, is the Inner Circle app that we're going to launch in the new year. If you are interested and want to be the first members in the Inner Circle, then go to my Linktree link that I've got in the description here, and scroll down to the Join the Inner Circle. And if you one of those first few members that wants or is keen to join that community, you click on here. It'll route you to a form, if you don't mind, just answering some of the questions, giving us your details. And then we'll definitely be in contact with you once it's launched in the new year, and you can be one of the first to join the community. And there'll be specials for people that are joining first into the community. The idea is it is going to be a place over and above all this content that I'm giving and all this templates and everything that are available there to you. You're going to have a space where you know is a safe, trusted space where there will be specialist advisors available to answer your questions, from immigration, from legal immigration advice to financial advice, talking about all the different insurances, investments, home loans, tax, all of that, as well as all my content that I'm trying to put in there, as well as I will schedule regular Q&A sessions, quarterly webinars, monthly webinars with all different guests, and then also trying to get the app in place where we're even trying to match up families so that you can get together and socialize if you opt in for that. Otherwise, it's just different platforms that we'll create where it'll be people that are in the discovery phase. So they in the beginning thinking about stages of moving, and it'll be like-minded people in that portion of the community that you can talk to, and we'll guide you with all relevant information to you to help you in making that decision, and webinars focused on helping you make the right decision and if this is actually for you. Then we'll go into the next group, which are the people that have just landed that 0 to 12 months. So you've just arrived, and we'll give you a whole lot of information and content that's relevant to you that'll help you in that first year when you've landed here. And then the last group that you'll be able to be part of in that community in the app will be all around the people that have been here longer than a year and are starting to go from 1 to 5 years to actually becoming the veterans that have been here for years and are now citizens, so that we can really start aiming and sharing information that's relevant to you. Like you might be working towards now retirement and buying a home, and we'll get people sharing information and specialists meeting with you there. So really what I'm trying to do is build a community where you don't have to be on these Facebook groups and these noise and you don't know who to listen to, because some people say something's great and then other people contradict it. You know, this is a trusted place. I've been there. I've done this. I've invited specialists that I've used that I know hand on heart are people we can trust and won't stuff us around and won't rip us off. So that's what this app is all about. And yeah, so that's kind of what I was trying to go through and how to immigrate to New Zealand from phase 1 through to phase 3. So we've gone through all three phases now, or 3 steps. It's the 3 phases that you go through. There's your discovery phase, your planning and doing, and your arriving and settling. So those are the 3 phases that we've gone through. In the first, which was the discovery phase, we went through the 5 different steps, which was your why, your pros and cons, your job search, your path to residency, and then the budgeting and making sure that you can actually not just survive, but thrive here in New Zealand. So I took you through those in detail. Then from there, we went on to the planning and doing. In the planning and doing, we spoke about those 3 different types of budgets. We spoke about engaging and choosing and selecting your immigration agent and putting your plans and everything together with them from beginning to end on your immigration journey to getting into New Zealand. We spoke about the job search and all the different videos that you can watch from the interview from Andre, etc., to help you tailor your CV, your cover letters, making sure that you're updating your Seek profiles that matched your LinkedIn profiles, and just a whole lot of tips and tricks around actually finding that job. And then we went through the checklist that you start off in country all the way up until when you arrive in New Zealand. So that took us through the second phase of planning and doing. And then the third phase was arriving and settling. So this is where I spoke about all my content on my YouTube channel, my podcast, how you can use all of that information, how you can start listening to the podcast before you arrive, so it starts familiarizing you with what to expect and how you can learn from us, what we would have done differently. So do go through those. I promise you, there's a lot that I've spoken about that can help. The checklist for the first 4 weeks of being here, and then all about the app that we're going to be launching in the new year. If you find that you want even more support than what I'm giving you here on all these different channels, then the app is definitely for you, where you can be part of that community and have support in your pocket. So thank you for sticking it out to the end. If you stuck it out to
be with me now, 2 hours in. I really appreciate your time and for listening to me. And yeah, that's my 3-phase basic approach to immigrating to New Zealand. I really hope it helps. The whole idea is to try and help you have a softer landing than what we did. I know that immigration can be really overwhelming and there's a hell of a lot to it. So that's really why I wanted to try put this together, breaking it down into 3 basic phases to also not only make it simpler, but just to make sure, you know, you've really thought this through and can make this a success. So when you do arrive in New Zealand, you can make this work and you can make this home so that, you know, you're not one of those people that is just totally overwhelmed, gives up and goes back. So that's the whole purpose behind this video today. So I seriously hope it helped you. I'm not an immigration advisor. I'm not a financial advisor. That's why I've got partners and I've got people that I trust and have worked with who I can recommend to help you. So I hand on heart know the experience you can get with them. I know how to help me. So I know and trust that they'll be able to help you. So that's the whole purpose behind that app that we're going to be launching, the community that we're going to be creating, which is that support in your pocket. So I'm so excited to have people be part of that. I can't wait until we launch it next year, because then that just closes off the whole bridge between from the beginning to doing all that research and making sure this is for you, doing all the planning, going through the whole journey to actually arriving here. You've got a space now where you can have a safe, trusted environment with like-minded people and specialists that will just be there to help each other, with nobody else from other social media groups or whatever else that just create noise and could potentially not be people that are giving good advice or that are just negative and just drag you down. So I'm trying to build that safe community. So really excited about that. If this content did help today and it's something that you feel could help others, please share it. But also please go to my YouTube channel at Soft Landing NZ and subscribe and follow me so that any new content I put out there that you'll get it, and hopefully it'll keep you informed and keep helping you. So with that, thanks for joining me. Stay safe and we'll speak soon. Ciao.